All right, good evening. Happy Thursday, man. Welcome back. It's good to be back in the building. It's your boy Saul G, aka MoneyGram. You can follow me at 50 Shades of Saul G on Twitter. You can follow the entire Libre Network at the Libre Network on IG. You can follow the entire Libre Network on YT now. So we're back on the White channel. So you gotta watch for us over there. And also you can follow me at 50. My bad. You can follow me at Saul G on LibreTV.co. Once again, shout out to everybody watching us over there at Libre TV. And just want to go ahead and announce our sponsor for the night. The Pollywood Podcast is brought to you by GoodMoneyPicks.com. So if you're into the sports book, gambling, and things like that, then go ahead and check out GoodMoneyPicks.com.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Ooh, I've been on the flex since flex on.
All right, so once again, like I said, the Pollywood Podcast is brought to you by GoodMoneyPicks.com. Like I said, go over there if you want to get the latest in the sports books, sports gambling picks or whatever. You want some winners, go to GoodMoneyPicks.com and select whatever package you want. But let's get right into it, man. The night's topic is about the expectation of monogamy. It's not going to be a long podcast tonight. I just wanted to come in and kind of, I'm getting back into the flow of things, because doing 4, 5, 6 podcasts a week and having a full-time job and having a full-time life, it can kind of sort of be a little overwhelming at times. So I'm not going to go as long as I normally would. It's probably going to be maybe a 20 to 30 second podcast from now on. I mean 30-minute, not second, but a 20 to 30-minute podcast from now on. And we're also going to go back to doing some pre-recorded things as well. But once again, appreciate everybody tuning in. YouTube, Twitter, YT, Libre TV. Once again, you can find the Libre Network, or you can find any one of these podcasts on any major streaming platform. But let's get right into it tonight. The expectation of monogamy. Right? I had this conversation. I had a pretty good conversation on Facebook about an aspect of monogamy. But remember, you're watching Pollywood, so we sometimes talk about polyamory and things that happen on the polyamorous side of the world, right? Meaning poly, meaning more than one. Right, so that means I deal in relationships and things of that nature. I interview people. I talk to people who want to have more than one partner. So when we talk about the expectation of monogamy, you ask yourself, well, what is that? And I kind of broke it down into a couple of different things. So the first thing I want to talk about the expectation of monogamy is, if you believe yourself to be a monogamous person, meaning one person being with another person, the first expectation of monogamy should be monogamous. You should only be with that one person. You should only have the desire for that one person. There should be basically nothing that's going on in your relationship, your marriage, whatever the case may be, that can separate you from your partner. Okay, because you're either monogamous or you're polyamorous. There is no in between. You either want to be with one person or you want to be with multiple people. Once again, there is no in between. So I think the first expectation of monogamy is, if you enter into a monogamous relationship with someone and they say, look, I want to be with you, you want to be with me, then at that point in time, you're almost making some sort of contract to say, this is the person that I want to be with. I want to be with this other person. So once you make that contract, then in my opinion, you're not legally, but in a relationship setting, you are now held liable for what you agreed upon when you set the definitions of that relationship. So unless you decide to have an open relationship, an open marriage, it's plenty different forms of relationships and marriages and relationships that you can choose to go into. But if you choose to go into a monogamous relationship, then it only makes sense to be faithful to that other person. Because otherwise, why would you enter into a monogamous relationship? You saying, I only want to be with this person only want to be with me, and then you find a way to mess that up. Okay, so you need to understand, first of all, are you a monogamous person? To be honest with you, I feel like I'll just speak for men. I'm not going to speak for women because that's not my job. When it comes to men, I think the overwhelming majority of men, if I had to put it at a percentage, I would say I think 97% of men are at least polyamorous. And the reason why I say that is it's simple, right? If the overwhelming majority of men were monogamous, right, then you got to ask yourself other questions. Have you ever been cheated on? A lot of women be like, of course. A lot of women, I think it's more common for women to have been cheated on than not to be cheated on. So once cheating starts to come into play, then now all of a sudden you're now having to understand that maybe you're not as monogamous as you thought. Because once again, you want to deal in a monogamous relationship, by all means do that. You want to go into polyamory, or you want to have multiple people, by all means do that as well. But I think the most important thing of the expectation of monogamy is you have to set these guidelines when you begin a relationship. Okay, so when you begin a relationship, you should be upfront and forward with your partner and let them know, hey, I want to see other people. Right? When I was single, I used to do that all the time. Hey, look, I'm not looking for nothing. You might have heard this before. Hey, I'm not looking for anything serious. Okay, cool. If we hang out, if we kick it, cool. We can have fun. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm not looking to tie myself down into one situation. Understand that, I'm still going to see other people. I don't mind if you see other people. At that point, once you have that understanding, you're not in a monogamous relationship, because the woman or the man does not owe you any sort of monogamy because they told you up front, look, that's not what I'm looking for. If you continue to date that person, and let's say the option comes on the table and that person says, hey, um, we've been dating for a while, and I want to know if this is going anywhere, whatever, and you want to go past that, and you both agree and say, okay, well, I'll be with you. Now at that point, you have to understand that that man already had you set up in a polyamorous situation, right? Let's say y'all were intimate together, but he's still telling you he's going to see other women. Then at that point in time, you are now accepting some sort of polyamorous form of situation, because you have now gotten intimate with a man who has straight up told you from the beginning, look, I'm not looking for a monogamous relationship. If you continue to deal with him and you continue to be intimate with him, you're now entering into that polyamory thing. That's the reason why we call this show Pollywood, because I think polyamory, trying to put a label on it, makes it a little different, right? But I think it's um, a lot more people are involved in it. Maybe they just don't realize it. Maybe they just don't know it. But the bottom line is, if you're dealing with a polyamorous man and he tells you from the jump, hey, look, I'm not looking for something serious. We can date, we can, have sex, we can do whatever. And then you want to transition that polyamorous man into monogamy, you're probably going to run into problems. And then you ask yourself, well, why would you run into problems? Number one, he's pretty much telling you the type of relationship that he prefers. But if you choose not to engage with him, that would probably be the wisest choice to begin with, because you already knew he didn't meet your expectation. But the problem is, a lot of times women prefer a monogamous relationship. Meanwhile, men, they prefer multiple women. They prefer multiple partners at the same time. Because if you gave them the option, and this is the question that you have to ask if you want to really talk about if your partner is really monogamous, okay? If your partner is really monogamous, you should ask this question. And this is something I'm just saying, this is just, for information purpose only. I'm not telling you to go experiment in the real world. I'm not telling you to do anything. This is just something that you can just think about, because I think you have to be able to expand your mind a little bit and just think. So if you're in a monogamous relationship, or even if you're married, I would always ask the question, or I would always want to pose this question. If I was talking to my wife and I said, hey, if I told you it wouldn't bother me at all if you had another man, would you do it? Or would that be something that would interest you? If I said, look, I won't get mad, I won't be jealous, I won't divorce you if you want another man, right? And my wife says, oh, really? Okay, well, I want to, if she takes that option, right, then that tells me that my wife is not a monogamous person. Same thing, like if you ladies out there, you're talking to your husband, and you say, hey, look, if I told you we're married, but you know what, if you want to get a girlfriend, I'm not going to be mad about it. Just make sure, y'all set the rules. No outside children, no You got to make sure I'm always coming first. You know, however, whatever rules and guidelines you want to set up, you set that up. And your husband turns around and says, no, 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 baby. All I want is you. I don't want no other woman but you. I say, great, but there's a caveat to that, right? So if that is true, that means that man is telling you he's a monogamous man. He's going to fall into what I feel is the vast minority of men. And, you know, at this point, I would be like, okay, let's go on to step two. Step two is, if a man is really monogamous, he shouldn't be locking his phone. He should be able to give you his phone. Hey, look, hey, let me, I need to use your phone real quick. And it should be like, boom, boom, unlock, here you go. He shouldn't have anything in his email, his social media DMs, his messages, his WhatsApp, his whatever, right? He shouldn't have anything to hide, because he already said he only wants his wife. He only wants his significant other. So why in the world would any man who claims to be monogamous, right? And I'm going to get into, if you're polyamorous, it's still rules. I don't know if people think that people who are polyamorous don't have rules, but it's a situation where if you're monogamous and you say you're monogamous and you only want your significant other, then at that point you have to decide that you're willing to leave every woman on the face of the planet alone, right? One comes up to you, one approaches you, gets in your DM, social media, whatever the case may be. You have to make that decision to decide, oh, you know what? None of that even attracts me, right? Because I'm monogamous. So then the question is, okay, if you're monogamous, would you be willing to let your partner see your phone? I think me and that boy Birdie, we called it the monogamy challenge about a month ago. We said the monogamy challenge is this: if you both claim to be monogamous, switch phones, go away for 2 days, and then come back. And if y'all still together after those 2 days, that means you're monogamous. Because any relationship, any marriage should be able to survive that test. Who's calling you? Who's texting you? Who's emailing you that you will be able to go 2 days with your partner's phone and not find anything? It's a good chance that you're monogamous. But if you did that and then you found out that, okay, why is this woman calling? Why is this woman texting him? You get to go through all his pictures now. You understand what I'm saying? You get to go through anything on his phone. What are the chances that you believe that you would find something? What's the percentage that you would put it on, that you would find something that would give you cause for concern? And I think that's the reason why we really need to focus on this term monogamy, because I am like I always say, even though the show's called Pollywood and I talk about polyamory, polygamy, things like that, I'm not an advocate for anything that I do, right? If it's anything that I'm doing personally, I'm like, look, that's me. That's how I want to live my life, right? If you don't like it, cool. I'm just saying, hey, look, if you want to be monogamous, by all means, just live your life the way that's supposed to go. Because if you want to be monogamous, that's a great thing. I'm just saying, live up to that. Because if you say, oh, I'm looking for one woman, and then you get one woman and you're with multiple women, I'm looking at you like, okay, why you not over here on the polyamory side? Because you're telling people you want monogamy, but then you go and you do things that are involved in polyamory. But let me just be clear. Polyamory still has rules. Polyamory just doesn't mean just because you agree to be in a relationship with multiple people that you can go out and just be with anybody. No. It just means that there are multiple people that are going to be involved in your relationship. So whether it's polygamy, whether it's polyamory, you know, there are things called thruples and triads and all that other stuff. I don't get into all of that. You know, I just say, if you want to have a discussion with me, I can tell you about polygamy. I'm not going to be able to tell you about the thruples. And, you know, my girlfriend got a girlfriend and her girlfriend is my girl. That stuff get a little tricky. So I will be bringing people on who are involved in those type of relationships. But like for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm good on that. So I think the main thing about it that we have to understand is you have to be open and honest to your partner about what it is that you want. If you're a man and you know one woman it doesn't mean one woman is not good enough, but you know yourself. You know it's going to be too hard for you to, because the other part about it is, and I think an aspect of it is when, shout out to my sister checking in on Facebook. One aspect of it is Men, right? You got to realize, men, you got to be honest from the jump. And if you know that you deal with a lot of women, or you're used to dealing with a lot of women, you have to be honest with the women up front to let them make that decision. Because if you don't, right, then all of a sudden you're going to be creating the same problems that we've been having. What do women love saying? Men ain't no good. Men are always around here cheating. Men are always doing these different things. So if you're in a situation where you're with somebody who you do not believe is being monogamous with you, then you have to make sure that monogamy was what you set up. You always have to set the rules and the guidelines for your relationships. That's the one thing I like to talk to a lot of people about. You set the rules. You make the rules. If you agree it's me and you, it's me and you. It's nobody else. If you say it's me, you, and her, and everybody agrees, then it's me, you, and her. You can't say, oh, it's just me and you, but then you want to have somebody on the side. I think it's better just to be honest and let them know what you want, the type of relationship that you want. Ladies as well. If that's not something that you can deal with, ladies, you have to make sure you let your man know, or your significant other, your husband know, like, look, it's just us. I don't want you to have no girl on the side. I don't want you to be DMing no other women. I don't want you to have any other relationships outside of me. And if that man accepts that, y'all get married, and that's what y'all agree to, that's what you need to hold that man accountable to, because he had the opportunity to tell you what he wanted. And when he had the opportunity, was he honest? No, he wasn't. Because the bottom line is, if a man is monogamous, he has nothing to hide. Even if a man is polygamous or polyamorous, he shouldn't have nothing to hide. Because once again, just being polyamorous doesn't mean that a man can go out there and sleep with whoever he wants to. That's not how it works. Unless, like some people have something called like an open marriage. So if you're involved in an open marriage, then guess what? I don't know what the rules are for an open marriage. But if an open marriage says, hey, look, you can go be with whoever, I can go be with whoever, I just don't want to hear about it. I just don't want no babies popping up. Then you can go and do whatever you want to at that point. But unless y'all have some sort of open relationship or some open dialogue about what you're going to do, then I think the expectation is everybody. To me, it's like on a video game, right? We talk about the default setting. The default setting is monogamous, right? Unless you specify otherwise, the default setting is always going to be monogamous in this society, period. You're never going to say, oh, well, I thought she was going to let me have other women because, I had told her I had other. No. Unless you tell her you want something differently, men, they're going to assume that expectation of monogamy. That's kind of sort of part two. The expectation of monogamy is its default setting. If you're going to change the default, you got to let somebody know. If you're playing Madden and it's on rookie versus all Madden, the game's going to be different. You understand what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times people enter into these so-called monogamous relationships and they're not ready to be monogamous. A lot of times people, when they're dating, right? When you get like dating, to me is the easiest example of like polyamory, because you're dating multiple people. You're not just saying, okay, they have speed dating and things like that. I don't consider that polyamory, but I'm saying when you just get into the dating field, right? What happens? One guy catches your attention, one lady catches your attention, another one does, and you say, okay, I'm gonna feel these people out, right? You normally just don't say, okay, I'm only going to talk to person A, and the person A don't work out, okay, then I'm going to go see what person B, because you just want to focus in on one person. It's like you want to basically, it's like, it's like fishing. You want to throw multiple lines out there to see what's going to catch, right? You don't want to just be out there with your one little your reel and be like, all right, cool, I'm just going to wait for this one fish. No, you want to say, okay, I'm going to throw this out because I don't know. This dude might be crazy. This lady might be weird. You never know. So the bottom line is, when we talk about I talked about this earlier with my mom, and I was like, when we talk about monogamy, one of the biggest problems with monogamy, the simplest problem, is infidelity, right? Cheating. And I use this analogy. I said the one thing you have to understand about cheating is the comparison I made to that. Unlike murder, right? Murder, you got manslaughter, you got first degree, second degree, third degree. With cheating, there is only a first degree, right? That means it's premeditated. It's no way that you just woke up one morning. Oh man, I just went to work, man, and I just fell into some random vagina. I'm sorry, baby. It just happened. No, cheating is something that is planned, premeditated, because you know why it's always premeditated when you cheat? Because you have to figure out a way for the other person not to find out. It's planned, it's calculated. You got to figure out, okay, let me delete these messages out, these pictures out my phone. Oh my God, let me make sure she not, she don't have no Find My iPhone where I might be if you're going to a hotel. Whatever the case may be, cheating is always premeditated, first degree infidelity every single time. There is no, it just happened. I don't care if you're not happy. If you're not happy, I say you need to leave. If somebody's not meeting your needs, you need to bring that to their attention. If they can't meet your standard, you need to leave. There is never an excuse. I don't care what anybody says, and anybody can challenge me on this. There is never an excuse for infidelity, period. Cheating, there is no reason for it. Because, especially once again, if you're saying you're monogamous. If you say you want a monogamous relationship and you're out there cheating, I'm looking at you like, what are you doing? That's not supposed to be attractive to you. That's not supposed to be something that you're into. Because you have already specified that, oh, I want a one-on-one relationship where I'm with my woman, and that's the only other person that I desire, the only other person that I want to be with. Any woman who tries to approach me at that point in time, hey, I'm very flattered by your offer, ma'am, but I'm married and I don't want anybody else. I don't want any problems in my marriage. If this is how we reacted in the real world, we will run into a lot of less problems in our relationships. But the problem is, there is not there is not an air of honesty in relationship these days. Shout out to Skitches Tobias checking in. Um, there's no honesty in relationships these days, right? You're talking to somebody, right? You're talking and y'all getting to know each other, and then you can ask some of these hard questions, and you won't get an honest answer. If you remember earlier in the show, I said there are simple ways to find out whether or not you're dealing with a monogamous person or whether you're dealing with a polyamorous person, right? If I asked my wife, did she want to have an extra guy on the side, and she said yes, guess what? She's not interested in monogamy, right? Because I gave her the opportunity to bring somebody else in, and she took it. Same thing with monogamous people, right? If you're a man and your wife says, hey, if you wanted another girlfriend, would you take it? And you tell her no, you're now saying that you're monogamous, which means that you should never have a problem with infidelity. Because remember, it's not like cheating just happens by circumstance, or it's just the way that it just kind of happens. So we're about the midway point right now. So I just want to say, everybody out there, if you're watching, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the show. This show is going to be every Thursday at 7 p.m. So make sure you're getting those likes. Make sure you're sharing the show with your friends. But this is a conversation that needs to be had, and it's a conversation that needs to be truthful, especially to the people that are out there in the dating world, but even more importantly, the people who are married, because now you're legally obligated to be monogamous with that person. You're legally obligated, and there are consequences to your actions. So I think this whole monogamy versus polyamory thing is something that needs to be a lot more brought up. I mean, honestly, it needs to be brought up in dating. You should be able to ask somebody who you're interested in, how many people, what would be your ideal situation, right? If I as a woman would allow you to have your ideal situation, whether it be dating, marriage, whatever, what would that look like? And I believe as a man, you got to say, oh shoot, is this a trap, right? What is she trying to get me to say? Or you got to say, well, you know what? If she asking for honesty, I'm going to give her honesty. If she don't like the answer, we weren't never supposed to be together anyway. But I say, ladies, you've got to do a better job of your inquisitions, right? When you're dealing with these men, because if you're a woman and you've been cheated on before, then you know how hurtful and you know how painful that is. So my question is, you have to then be able to position yourself during that dating phase to ask better questions. So I would ask a man, hey, what does your ideal relationship look like? And when I say relationship, I'm not talking about how I treat you. I'm asking, period. Is it you? Do you have a girlfriend? Are you married? Do you have a chick on the side? What does it look like? Because if everything was allowed, and I said, I'm going to allow you to do whatever you want, right? Whatever you want, I'm going to be in agreement with it. Listen to what the man says. And you got to hold that man accountable. So shout out to Anthony checking in. But I believe that's something that you're going to have to be able to ask as men and women when you're involved in that dating phase. You're going to have to be a lot more honest, because the thing is, I honestly believe that men want different types of relationships. They desire more than one woman, right? Because once again, if they didn't want more than one woman, their DM should be clear. Their text messages should be clear. It should be you, your mama, your sister, your cousin, and work. Who else is texting them? Who else is DMing them if they telling you monogamy is what they want? So, fellas, we got to do a better job of being honest about what we want. If you want something more than monogamy, right? So if you want something more than monogamy, you got to be willing to tell this woman and even lose this woman, because to me, it's better to be honest, right, than sit there and try to hold on to somebody, but you out there doing the wrong. I think it's better just to go ahead and be honest from the jump. So women, in my opinion, and I'm definitely believe that anybody who would ever want to argue this with, I'm just gonna say you're wrong. Women can handle a lot more than men can. I think a woman could handle multiple women than a man could handle multiple men, because it's just men. Like, men don't want to share, and I know women don't want to share either. But I think that women would be. I mean, it's like you gotta look at it like this. Polygamy has been something, during biblical times, right? My namesake Solomon, um, Abraham. People like that in the Bible. We've known polygamy to exist for a long period of time. It's big in the Arab world. It's still going on in Africa today. It used to be real big in Utah. Google Brigham Young. Polygamy was even in America, right? So if you look at BYU University, that is the product of polygamy. So just to me, that shows that women have been able to accept the concept of multiple women for generations. But if you try to show me, okay, well, where's that situation where a woman had multiple husbands, that we can go back and look at society? I'm pretty sure you can point to some queen somewhere, right? But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about regular everyday life, right? Because Brigham Young was just a regular person. He wasn't a king. He wasn't any sort of royalty yet. You could say he was wealthy. That's fine. But at the same time, he was still a regular, like, businessman. So it's something that could be obtainable without some sort of royal lineage that you want to attach to it. So that's the reason why I'm saying, men and women, we have to begin to become more comfortable in what we really, really want. Shout out to my mom, who loves telling me it's her, even though it has her name clearly presented there. But appreciate mom checking in to support. But I just think that there are so many aspects of relationships that we do not discuss, because number one, we're afraid that we're going to lose somebody. Number two, we're ashamed of how we want things. We're ashamed of the type of relationships that we're one. Or third, you're concerned about how, maybe your friends, your family would view you if you decide that you want something that is outside of what society would deem normal, right? But I think that there is a level of honesty that needs to be had within all relationships, so that way we can start to avoid this. Because I believe cheating is, I mean, it's an awful thing. Especially when, no matter if you're in a polyamorous, a monogamous, it don't matter. Somebody getting cheated on, don't matter. The person on the other side of it is always going to feel like, well, what could I have done to avoid this? And some people could say, well, I told him he could have a girlfriend, but then he wanted 3. Then he wanted 4. Then he wanted 5. Then he wanted 6. I don't know what to tell you, right? Because you got to be able to know your own limitations and know what you can deal with. But there are plenty of examples. I don't like using Hollywood, but I'm just only going to use one just for an example, which would be like Will and Jada, right? Will and Jada have been together for, over 20 years now? And I understand they had their issues. A lot of people know about the August Alsina thing that happened. There were rumors about Will Smith basically being with multiple, men and women in Hollywood, right? So they set the rules and the guidelines for their relationship. And no matter what you want to say, I think they're still legally married. I don't think they're divorced. So whatever you have to do that you feel comfortable with to make your relationship work, excuse me, then I think that's what you need to do. If you say I want a man for me and I don't want nobody else, great. Make sure you make that point blatantly obvious, and you probably need to even set the standards and say if you want the same thing. Honestly, it might sound crazy, but you might have to be like, okay, so if you cool with that, um, I would want to know if like a lot of people, like some of the teachers and stuff when you're in college, right? They say they have an open door policy, right? Ask them would they be okay with an open phone policy. Say, hey, look, if we were together, right? Because you're saying you want monogamy, and I'm saying, ladies, ask these questions. If the men give you some sort of pushback, right? Then my question is, if you don't have nothing to hide, what is the problem? Because I asked this question on Facebook, and I said, is it disrespectful to ask if your partner is cheating? In my opinion, it is, right? Because if I agree to monogamy and you don't have any sort of evidence, right? Another police, another police analogy. But if you don't have no evidence, no smoking gun, you just got some thoughts, or you just want to just check. My question is, why are you asking me if I'm cheating on you? If I told you the expectation of monogamy, the first principle of monogamy is mono, which means one. So if I'm in a monogamous relationship and you don't have no text messages, no late night phone calls, nobody running to the bathroom to answer their phone, you understand what I'm saying? You don't really have anything. You found something in the trash, whatever, right? I don't really think people write their numbers down on sheets of paper, so that's probably a difficult thing to find these days. But if you don't have any of these things to go on and you just say, hey, are you cheating on me? Then my question is, right, I think it's disrespectful because, number one, right, if I'm cheating on you, what makes you think I'm going to tell you the truth anyway? That's a stupid question. If I got the audacity to cheat on you, right, why do you think I would be honest about whether or not I was doing it? You're going to have to catch me. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a stupid question to begin with. Because if you're in a relationship with somebody, you should believe that person is being faithful to you. So if you have to ask, sometimes people say then you either already know or you already suspect. And if you already know or you already suspect, what's the point of asking? It's like you ask a man who is cheating on you, and he says, no, I'm not cheating on you. And then you stay with him. What was the point? Because unless you got a way to prove it, it's like all you're going to do is cause more problems in your relationship. So that's the reason why I posted this question on Facebook, is asking your partner if they're cheating, is that disrespectful? That's the reason why I said yes, because it's a stupid question. If I'm going to lie to you, right, because if you're in a monogamous relationship, I've already lied to you when I go cheat on you. Because what did I tell you? I told you I only wanted to be with you. I only wanted to be with one person. So if I lied about that, why would I tell on myself? I already told you that I'm not loyal to you by cheating on you. So if I've already showed that I'm not a loyal person by cheating on you, what makes you think I'm going to give you the honesty of saying, oh, well, you know what? Now that you're asking me, yeah, I cheated. No. If that person wanted to be honest, you wouldn't even have to ask. You could think everything was great and they just be like, hey, look, I just got to be honest about something. A couple of days ago, I was on a business trip, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever the story goes, hey, some things happened. I had a couple of drinks and I ended up sleeping with somebody, one of my coworkers, on a business trip. That's about as honest as it's going to be able to get. But if you, as a woman or a man, have to ask whether or not your partner is cheating, I'm like, well, that's a really ridiculous question to me, because I don't feel that unless they admit it without you even asking, you're never going to get the truth. So what's the point? So those are the different types of things that I want to do, and I'm just going to kind of review and wrap things up, because like I said, I'm not going to make this show that long. I'm not taking calls or anything tonight. I'll probably try to get a guest for next week. I've been trying to get this one dude on here who got 5 wives, but he been ducking me for a little bit, so I'm going to try to get him back on here. But basically, when I talk about the expectation of monogamy, it's pretty simple. Number one, you expect monogamy. You expect that person to be with you. Number two, it needs to be spoken, and it needs to be understood that monogamy is always going to be the default setting in any relationship. If you're going to alter that, it needs to be spoken to your partner like audibly. You can't, you know what I mean? Like it can't be something that you just say, oh, I thought you knew. No, you can't use your past as, oh, well, based on what I've done in the past, you should have known that this is what I wanted or this is what I want. No, I need for you to tell me audibly, communicate it to me exactly the type of relationship you want. And then the last expectation of monogamy is that if you're in a monogamous relationship, you have nothing to hide, right? Because you have decided that this is the type of relationship that you want to deal in. This is the type of person that you've told, I want to commit myself to you. And when you make a commitment, I'm like, you need to stand by that. So if you're going to say you're in a monogamous relationship, then this is the third expectation of monogamy. You have to understand that you have nothing to hide as a man or a woman. What do you have to hide as a man or a woman if you're saying, I want to be monogamous? I only want to be with you. So the only thing that I should have in my phone is text messages from my wife, my girlfriend, or my significant other, whoever I decide to be with. It should be nobody else in there. Oh, let me see Facebook. Okay, yeah, here are my Facebook DMs right here. Here you go. Let me check your Instagram. Oh, okay, here go my Instagram DMs right here. Okay. Just to make you feel, oh, let me go through your phone gallery. Cool, go through my phone gallery. You understand what I'm saying? If you're in a monogamous relationship, you should be able to pass all three of those. You should be able to check your text messages, your phone gallery, and all your social media DMs. If you can pass that test, congratulations. You're probably with a monogamous person. But if you cannot, that is problematic, and y'all need to sit down and have a talk of why or what's the problem in the monogamous setting that you have, because there has got to be something is off track, because that person needs to explain, okay, if you wouldn't allow me to look through your DMs, why? I thought we were monogamous. Well, we are. Well, what do you have to hide? Once again, it doesn't negate, or it doesn't mean that if you're in a polyamorous relationship that you should have these same problems. Because I always tell you, polyamory does not negate cheating either, right? It just means that you were a little bit more open and honest about the type of relationship that you wanted, but cheating still occurs in polyamory as well. It just depends on whatever it is that you set up, So it's like if somebody says, oh, I want to be in an open marriage, he goes out and has a baby. I don't think that was a part of the negotiation with being in an open marriage. So there's always going to be a way that you can break your agreement, but it's up to you and your partner to have that level of communication where y'all make sure y'all let each other know exactly what you want. So I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Like I said, I'll be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. to have another discussion about relationships. Probably a little bit more on the polyamory side next week. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm trying to get a guest that is involved in what they call a throuple. So it's just something to find out a little bit more about. So I'm trying to get this throuple to come on, and I'm going to see if I can get them to come on next week. But like I said, I'm working on that right now. Saturday, you can catch me again on the Kamikage Show. I will be reviewing the Masters of the Universe Revelation, which is the new He-Man. Well, I can't really call it He-Man. If you watch a little bit of it on Netflix, I can't really call it He-Man, but they kind of sort of had a He-Man spinoff that I'm gonna be talking about on Saturday on the Kamikage Show. Monday we'll be back for the BPB podcast on Monday. So everybody who knows where we're broadcasting from right now know why we don't say the name anymore. But yeah, the BPB podcast will be back on Monday, and then I'll be doing a Critical Inception next Tuesday at 7 p.m. as well. Make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing this program and the entire Libre network with your friends and your family members. But until next week, like I said, my name has been Saul G, or AKA MoneyGram. You can follow me at 50 Shades of Saul G on Twitter. You can follow the entire Libre network at the Libre network on IG. You can follow me at Saul G on LibreTV.co, or you can follow the Libre Network on the YT platform, and I think everybody knows what that is. But until next week, y'all have a blessed week, and I'll see y'all then.